Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott wave update for Bitcoin. I'm going to get on the lower time frames here for this fourth wave. There's a couple things I want to discuss here that's of pretty big importance on just using standard Elliott wave guidelines, help you out a little bit. Now the first one is when you're looking for a potential fourth wave pivot, you usually take the beginning of wave one off of your wave two, and when you hit the top end of that channel is usually where a pivot is likely to happen. That's why I was looking for a pivot here previously in that area. And usually what happens after that is if that doesn't hold, you can take the beginning of or the end of wave one off the end of wave three, extend that off of wave two, and that's where you can get your pivot. So you can see we're at a spot where we could also get our pivot in. Now I personally am still biased that this is going to drop potentially, but it doesn't mean that we have to. Now I'll show you my next technique for that, but I've been preaching in my video that everybody's paying attention to this level here at around 50,100 and like 52,500. I personally believe we're going to end up breaking that and come into our standard guidelines of Elliott wave of coming into our fourth wave area of one lesser degree, which is the high end 48,969, the low end about 38,600, somewhere in that zone, and also coming right between the 382 and the 50 of where we would expect our fourth wave in the third wave extension. So I'm expecting this to break, but nothing says it has to. I'll show you how we can recover from here, but how I am going to be using my expectation for the potential pivot is the pitchfork on modified. I'll show you that. So we take beginning of our wave one, offer wave one with our pitchfork. And this is if we don't hold from this zone. I'll end up putting on a shift. So that's our zone number one, the top end of the shift. These aren't rules, just guidelines, or the middle of the channel of our modified pitchfork. That's what I look for, kind of worst case scenario. So we could come in, have a capitulation here, then recover very quickly. But you can see we're running out of time to pivot. And if this extends too long, I have to start switching my probabilities to bearish. But we're not there yet. I'm not bearish. I also took the extension of our wave two to see where we'd be at the 1-to-1 of wave four, where wave four would equal wave two. And that takes us out till August 11th. That's kind of the last time I'd want to see a pattern, whatever ends up being here, complete. All right, so let's get down to the smaller time frames. We're focused on this area. Okay, first I'm going to show you how we can potentially be complete. I'm 50-50 on this, but I'll show you how we have to be complete. And it's not the prettiest, but it does work. And how that works is we end up having a flat for our A wave. It's a 3-wave, and this ends up being our 5-wave move, which is kind of ugly. 1, 2, 3, very long 4, and our 5. And there's 5 waves in there if you go down the micro count. Wave 4 does not overlap wave 1, so there is no invalidation there. It's just a pretty ugly structure, right? So we'd have a flat for our A wave. Our B wave came to the 90% retracement of the move to the downside, which is minimum requirement, pretty much to the tick. So we're looking for 5 waves to be complete. And the only way I can count this is as a diagonal, 1, 2. There's also a 5-wave here if you go down to the micro. Again, wave 4 doesn't overlap wave 1, although it came very close. And then we got our 5th wave to the downside. So these are similar looking waves, right? Ugly impulses, but they are valid. So this is how we would be complete as a C wave. You can see we do respect our channel. We pivoted off the bottom. So it has that going for it, but the issue is the reaction off the bottom. So if we zoom into the 1 hour, the reaction was not impulsive. I mentioned this in the last video. It was not an impulsive reaction. And we're right at between the 50 and the 618 of this last move to the downside. So the way we would recover here is we have to make some sort of diagonal. This is an ABC. This is a WXY. So we'd need one more wave to the upside in a 3-wave pattern, and then we can call this a diagonal. This is what we're looking for to recover from this zone. Could even extend a little more here, 3, 4, 5. And where I'm interested in taking a long is over here. Once we get an ABC and we can get a clear pattern, we have to let that price action fill out and then look for our long, stop at this low. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not interested in buying right now because this is a 3-wave move. We can easily collapse to the upside, right? We're in that in-between zone where we're waiting for price action to give us clarity. See if there's anything we can get here with our price measurements. Looks like we passed the 1-to-1. Yeah, that's going to be a slight issue. I would expect 1.236, 1.382. You kind of have to judge how diagonals are going to fill out based on the extensions they hit. Again, this one, the issue I have with this is this: the next 3-wave. If we get a 3-wave, the 3rd wave isn't shorter than wave 1, so this 5th wave can get extended and still not invalidate any rules. Frustrating when that happens, because if the 3rd is shorter than wave 1, you can just put the length of wave 3 off of wave 4, and you know it becomes invalidated at the 1-to-1, right? So we're kind of in, we have to wait for this to fill out. So looking for something like this, respect our contracting channel, and then get our ABC back. That's what I'm looking for. And then I will look for a long after that if we get a nice ABC. Right? Looking for all-time highs. So that's the bullish scenario. Hopefully that plays out. That would be ideal for all the alts that we're following as well. Now we have to talk about how we fail. Right? And this would be pretty much a completed correction. And one more thing, just wanted to add, the issue, even if we get this diagonal move, is diagonals and WXYs look pretty much the exact same a lot of the time. And all that would be is a 3-wave move here. This becomes a running flat, and then another 3-wave move for our Y. So that's why it's so important to wait and see what happens after the completion. That gives you your edge. Okay, so let's talk about the short-term bearish view. In the bearish view, we're not done our C wave yet. In the bearish view, this is a 3-wave move. Again, there's 5 in this one. ABC. We get our ABC correction for our wave 2. We're in the middle of our wave 3. It's an A. If this is complete, B, we'd be looking for 5-wave down for our 3rd. We'd then be looking for a 4th wave and our 5th wave to complete. And this would give us our diagonal. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. That would be that. Let me get rid of this. And I'll get rid of this for now too. That's a little bit distracting. We're looking for a 5-wave diagonal, right? That comes into the zone I'm talking about. Right now, that would take us pretty similar. If we take our extension of wave 1 off wave 2, I'd be looking for this third wave to finish about the 300%, only because of the A wave within the third. You'd want to hit at least a 618. So that would take us, we'll see somewhere in this zone, the 618 extension and the 1-to-1 of the larger view, somewhere in there, 4, 5. Ideally, our third would be shorter than our first, because then we can have our hard stop for our fifth, because third can't be the shortest wave. We'll have to wait and see. But that scenario, this being an ending diagonal, kind of screws everybody playing this bottom end of the channel. It also, we get capitulation, right? Because these would be 5-wave moves with the Mt. Gox and the German government selling that Bitcoin. This would scare everybody in the market because everybody's expecting this to hold, right? And this would be the ideal buy. I'm not sure which situation I would prefer because we'd get much better entries on a lot of things. But that'll be an interesting one. But this is what I'm looking for on Bitcoin. So be careful. Pay attention to this zone right here. Very important zone. And probably the most important level to create this diagonal, unless a correction gets extended, is if we say that bottom's in, there's our C wave. We need the wave 2 level to hold, right? To create this, which is right here, 54, 260, 16. We need that pivot to hold, right? To create this diagonal. All right, guys, so I'm going to keep up to date with this. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see updates, and I'll see you on the next one.